So let's break this down for those of you that don't know the REL line. So REL makes good subwoofers. They're a subwoofer company. That's what they focus on. I think most of you guys know that by now. Now there was the TI series, now replaced by the TX series. Now there's the S series. Now the S series is the more expensive, higher end subwoofers from REL. So why is that relevant to this story? Well, it's relevant to the story of how the TX was made. According to REL, improving the TI series, which was already a very good subwoofer, and I reviewed it, it was indeed very good, was almost impossible. Improving it seemed almost impossible until they started kind of referencing it more to the S series and trickling it down from the S series. So to them, the new TX series is not an improvement from the TI series, but more of a baby S series. And if you see it that way, these subwoofers are freaking awesome.
Hit it! That's what I'm talking about. Wait!
Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
So let's start with what changed from the TI series to the TX series physically. Now here you have a bunch of the TX series, including the T5X right there. But the main thing is that the cabinet size increased. So the cabinet size increased by about 5 to 7%. In person, it is a bit more deeper and a little bit shorter. And that is more pleasing, at least to me, in terms of the aesthetics. Now, another thing that changed was you can't just change the cabinet volume and then leave the drivers as it is. They had to redesign the driver based on the new cabinet. So they did that. And REL's drivers are fantastic. They are paper design, pulp design, very light. So they are able to travel really fast and giving you really that fast and lightning bass. But of course, they made sure that it's stiff enough with their dust cap, and the surrounds have gotten bigger from the TI series to withstand that more dynamic capability and the increase in the cabinet size. So that's nice to see, and the drivers being on par with the newer cabinet design. Now, two more things before we move on. The first is the curvature of the subwoofer, and this has little nice, elegant curvature to the cabinet. Now, aesthetically, it's more pleasing to me for sure, rather than the flat ones that we had on the TI series. But this also has a sonic benefit according to REL. It helps to fight the resonance buildup along the corners, especially along those corners apparently is where resonance can build up more. And having that curvature allows it to dissipate it and have that resonance build up less. So that's interesting to see as well. Second thing is the aluminum feet. The aluminum feet is extremely nice. It's big and big block of aluminum, and I do have to say it looks really nice, and it has a really nice touch to it. Now, other than the fact that it has RELs all over it, and we've seen this before as with REL subwoofers as well, it's all over it, and people have mixed opinions about how much it just shouts it's a REL subwoofer. It has REL on the top, on the bottom, on the feet, everywhere. But I kind of like that myself. I've gotten to like it more than I initially did, because when you have REL, you want to kind of show it off. I mean, you're spending this much money on a subwoofer. And talking about price, the price did increase with all these upgrades by 30%, give or take. And I do have to say that, with all these upgrades, I think that kind of price increase is warranted. And I am personally surprised that the price didn't increase more, considering the fact that these are upgrades that are pretty significant in terms of the cabinet size and the new driver design. It takes a lot of R&D. In my opinion, I think the price is right. Now, however, the power amplifier did not change. The power amplifier, they liked it. They didn't think the need to change it, so they kept it the same. So the only changes are, well, not the only changes I should say, but the changes are the cabinets and the new aluminum feet and basically the drivers. So here we have the REL T5X. instead of the T7X because the T7X is heavy and it breaks my back. It's just a little bit lighter on my back here, but the control system is really nicely exactly the same ones on both. So the explanation should be exactly the same. Now, a few things to go over. So here we have the volume adjustment from high to low. And I usually set this to 50 and that's how I started. And I just add a little bit or decrease a little bit depending on my needs. The crossover point is all the way from 30 Hertz all the way up to 120 Hertz, which is really nice flexibility right there. Now, when you cross over to other speakers, I have a lot of speakers here, and basically you're crossing it over with the bass driver of any of these speakers. And usually these these speakers starts to roll off around, depending on the speaker, 60 Hertz, 50 Hertz, some 80 Hertz. It really depends on the speaker. So what you want to find from your manufacturer, your speaker manufacturer, or through graphs or sort, you want to find out essentially the rolling off, the start point of the roll off, and then you want to start there. So for instance, let's say this beautiful quads starts to roll off around 80 Hertz. Not saying it does, just hypothetically. Then we want to set the crossover point to somewhere around 80 Hertz, and then kind of increase it or decrease it to blend in seamlessly as much as possible. And you do that by ear with tracks that you know very well. A track that I like to use a lot is actually Bass I Love You and also Hot Spade. These are my reference tracks for matching subwoofers. And then here we have, of course, the low level input and then the high level input and LFE. Now these two are something that you see on other subwoofers as well, but this is a little bit unique. And what this is called high level input. And this is something that is unique to REL subwoofers. And you may see it in other subwoofers as well, but REL does this best, and this is their signature move with their subwoofers. So essentially with these kind of connections, you get this cable that comes with it. And it's a speak-on connection, essentially, that connects to this end. Like so. Hard to do it with one hand, but it connects like so. And the other end is actually just bare wires, and these three cables right here would connect to your amplifier or integrated unit. This just basically takes a signal and feeds it to the subwoofer so that it takes on the entire system's tonality and sound characteristics, which is really nice and helps with blending with your speakers and your system overall. So this is highly suggested for music lovers and music systems. Now you may be wondering, how do I connect the other end? And I can show you some examples, but that would be kind of pointless because it really depends on the amplifier type you have. So I will link to some of the videos REL made themselves explaining how to make that connection depending on which amplifier you have. And also, if you're still unsure, then you can reach out to them and they'll explain it to you themselves. And also, you may be asking, what's so special about REL's high-level connection compared to other subwoofers that have high-level connection? Well, the thing is that with high-level connection, they use filters, and every subwoofer does have filters, and there's always a delay. But REL has managed to get the filter delay as low as possible to a point where it really doesn't matter anymore to a lot of listeners. So that's why a lot of people find REL subwoofers to be fast, musical, and really blend in well with their systems when they're using the high-level connection compared to other high levels in the market. So it's just a higher quality connection with subwoofers for music purposes. So Tujin's here from his work because he just bought the Hago H120 and he is desperate to pick it up. So I kind of wanted his opinion of the REL T7X because he heard the original T5i when I reviewed it way back, and he also heard the T7X. So let's see what he thinks. What did you think?
You know what? So I actually used the T7X for like 2 months when I had it, and it's like a completely different beast compared to the T5i.
Okay.
It's more my type of sub. It has better extension and it has grunt that, REL subs are fast, right? They pull up details in the bass region that some subs just can't resolve. But the T7X, has that speed of the T5i, but the grunt, it almost trespasses to like what you would see in like a home theater sub without any of the caveats. So honestly, like when I was listening to music with it, it was just fantastic. Like it checks off all the boxes I would want for like a dedicated music listening sub.
Okay, so let's get to the nitty-gritty of my opinions here. So with REL subwoofers, I am definitely impressed with the TX series. It is a improvement from the TI series, like I mentioned. And even before this video, a lot of people reached out to me, including my Patreons, and asked me, I bought the TI series, should I upgrade to the TX series? My advice is always the same. If you can, do so, through trade-in or whatever possible with your dealer or whatnot. But like I said, the TI series is honestly a great subwoofer. And if you're talking about value, this is about 30% more expensive, right? I don't think the sound itself is 30% better, because already, like I said, the TI series were incredible subwoofers, incredible value. I think the sound is maybe 15-20%, and the rest 10 or 15% would be on the rest of the upgrade. Aesthetics do matter, and the feet and so on do matter. And another thing that I found was that for some reason the TX series actually seems to be easier to integrate into the system. Now the TI series, don't get me wrong, was easy as hell too, but the TX series is way more easier. I just found it. I've had like 6 or around actually 8 pairs of speakers mashed up with the T5X and the dual T7X, and at no times did I feel like it was hard to integrate or make it seamless. It was all seamless, and it was very easy to integrate into the space I have. Very thunderous, like Tujin said, very thunderous, very fast, very grippy, and the grunt is just incredible with this subwoofer, even more so than the TI. But again, depending on preference, maybe you may not like that much grunt. Tujin likes a lot of grunt. Now for my liking, even though I'm not a guy who likes a lot of grunt, it was a very tasteful grunt. Even though the amount was a lot, it was very easy and easy going, and it's not a nasty kind of bloated bass. It was a lot of presence. Now another thing that I want to note is, again, the high level connection is partially why REL subwoofers are so musical, and that's why I'm a fanboy. And I will admit, I'm a total fanboy when it comes to REL subwoofers, because that's what I use. That's what I find musical, and I think high level is just genius, especially when it's as high quality as it's with REL subwoofers. And it's genius because you don't need pre-outs or from your integrated amplifiers, or extra pre-outs from your preamp. You don't need any of that. You can just connect it to the binding post on your integrated units as you would with speakers, because these are speaker cables. And if you don't know how to do that, again, I'll link in the description below how to do that. But you don't need anything else. You can just integrate this system very easily, and it's one of, in my opinion, the easiest way to integrate a subwoofer into any music system. Yet it sounds the best. So it's a win-win there for me. Now, some of you actually have reached out to me and asked me, Jay, I don't see myself buying a subwoofer, even though I get a little bit more extension in the bass region. Why would I buy a subwoofer? And that's a misconception a lot of people have, even though I keep telling them, when you buy a subwoofer, yes, you're getting it for more bass extension, and that's the primary reason. But when you allow the bass extension to go lower, you have to understand you're manipulating the rest of the frequencies as well. So your mid-range will get fuller as well, and your high frequency will become smoother. And that's the experience I've had with almost every single time, actually. I wouldn't say almost, every single time the high frequency becomes smoother and the mid-range becomes fuller. So that's something you get when you get a subwoofer. You don't just get more bass. It's it becomes an entire frequency response augmentation. So it's not just the low frequencies that you get when you get a quality subwoofer. So that has a lot to do with when we call a subwoofer musical. It's not just about the bass, and we're not just describing the grunt and how low it goes, because let's face it, there are subwoofers out there these days with DSP and so on that can go lower than the REL T5X or the T7X, and that's fine. Those have their purpose in the home theater market, and I believe REL makes the HT series, which is based for home theater market. But home theater is entirely different story. Home theaters actually have passages where going down to 5 hertz, 20 hertz, 10 hertz, low as you can get, rumble the room, as loud as possible. Let's go Tujin. That's what they want. That's what Tujin wants for his home theater. But for music, what instrument plays down to 20 hertz? Like a pipe organ? That's it. But who listens to pipe organ? I'm not judging, but I don't. And most of the music I listen to don't, and I'm assuming that you don't as well. So for most of us that listens to non-pipe organ music, then 30 hertz is good enough. And with room gain, that's exactly what you get with these REL subwoofers, good 40-30 hertz. That's a full range as far as I'm concerned when it comes to music. And it does it with such musicality, grip, punch, and dynamic capability that I would recommend no other subwoofer really for music purposes. And that may change, don't get me wrong. If I come across another brand or a subwoofer that sounds better, I will say so. I'll be the first to say so and make the switch until REL makes a better one. But from time and time again, REL has made subwoofers that makes musical subwoofers, and I still stand by them, and I still think these are great subwoofers. And I'm not saying that as just a sellout. REL hasn't, by the way, paid me anything for this review or anything of that sort. And I'm coming across LZ every time I do a REL review. People tell me I've come across LZ. I have not received anything for this review, or financially, or anything like that. All the REL subwoofers I've received for this review will be returned, except for the T5X, because it's being given away right now to you guys. So all you have to do is subscribe to us and comment down below how you would, or what speaker you would pair the T5X to, and you'll be entered. And of course, click the like to this video. All the details will be in the description. So anyways, that's pretty much it from us. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.